Amanda, you're very welcome back for our Q&A today. I'm glad to have you back.
Thank you.
Will we just jump straight in?
Straight in. Let's go for question 1.
Hi, I'm 13 years of age and I have 3,000 in my Plus account. What can I do with my mum and dad to invest it?
Deadly.
Probably our youngest contributor to the podcast so far.
Yeah, that's deadly.
Yeah.
What I would suggest that 13-year-old does with their mum and dad as regards investing money is keep it away from mum and only listen to dad. No. No. Oh, Win. Look at the face on you, Amanda. No. Look, fair play to you. You've got your $3,000 put together. What I would say is there's actually lots of things you could do. So you could, it depends, if the rules for you or the rules for this 13-year-old are the same as they are for anybody else. If you're not going to spend the money in the next 5 years, which is about 40% of the current life that he's already lived, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not going to use the money for 5 years, it just doesn't belong in a bank account. The rules are no different for a person at 13 than it is at 73, right? Mm-hmm. The rules are exactly the same. With your parents' support, I'm going to talk to him directly here, right? With his parents' support, he can actually do everything that anyone else can do. Mm-hmm. So whether that's a no-brainer 60-40 portfolio or using a bank account and just putting it on deposit because you're going to use it in the next couple of years, the parents can, there is a problem from a legal perspective that some of the investment houses and companies can't take an instruction from a minor, so under the 18 years of age, but the parents can set it up and have it in trust for him that the money is still his money. The parents can't take it back, but they can instruct how it gets invested. Okay. And what I would say, you know what I'd love, actually I wonder would he ever come on with us? I'd love for him to read section 3 of the first book, How to Be Good with Money, because that's all about how to invest money and where to invest money. And I'd love him to read it. You know what, Amanda? We might get his details and send him out a book and ask him to read it. And when he's read it, I wonder would he come on afterwards and we'll just see what questions he has for us. Yeah. That's probably the best way of doing it because we'd like to give that lad a bit of help in hand.
Yeah. Yeah, he's starting very young.
He can do everything. Well, if you think about it, Warren Buffett, and that's a message for him. Warren Buffett started investing at 13 years of age. Okay. Warren Buffett is in his 90s now. He's worth over 100 billion and one of the richest men in the world. And interestingly enough, one of the things that Warren Buffett says is, when you look at the statistics, at 50 years of age, Warren Buffett had 1% of the wealth that he has today. So 99% of his wealth has been accumulated since 50. And the reason for that is compound interest. Yeah. But he's just been investing for a very, very long time. Yeah. And this 13-year-old, like, we could do some lovely maths.
Has a chance.
Like, I'd love to get him on the show. Because that 13-year-old, we could do some lovely maths for him. We could really show him where he could go. And one of the things is at 13 years of age, he has made 0 financial mistakes yet. Yeah. And you've got a real opportunity, and those parents have a real opportunity to guide him correctly and get it right. That's exciting, actually.
And they seem to have already been guiding him in the right direction anyway, if he's exposed to the podcast.
Yeah, that's it. Well, no, let's send him out a book. I'm sure you have his contact. Let's send him out a book, ask him to read section 3 and maybe ask would he come on the show. Okay. Yeah? Would we do that? Yeah, we try that one. Yeah. Okay, let's go for question 2.
Hi there. I just wanted to ask a question about the state saving schemes. They look like they have a guaranteed return and they don't have any dirt at the end of the period. So I've got a small lump sum of 10 grand and my appetite for risk is low. I'm looking to use this 10 grand in about 5 years to pay off a bit of a mortgage. And I'm just curious about whether you think it'd be good to put it into one of the state saving schemes or to put it into an investment like you guys would talk about on your show. Thanks very much. Bye.
Give us a guess what my answer's going to be. What do you think I'm going to say, Amanda?
60-40.
Yeah. So the problem with this is, right, and particularly as interest rates are starting to go up and state savings are starting to go up, it's always really attractive that the state savings have no tax on them. That's brilliant, right? And that's a real great attraction. And there is a use for them in certain circumstances, but the general principles remain the same. If you're not going to use the money in the next 5 years, it doesn't belong in a bank account, on post account or credit union account or state savings. It's the same bucket, right?
It's the same, yeah.
They're all just giving you deposit rates. And over long periods of time, deposit rates will not beat inflation. Or they never have before, right? Yeah. The problem what we're finding here at the moment is as interest rates are going up and you're seeing rates of 3% and 4% being offered out there, and people are going, sure, if I can get 3 or 4% on that, why would I bother exposing myself to a 60-40 portfolio where it's going to go up and down? Yeah. Let's remember a 60-40 portfolio over her time frame, which is 5 years, has a 99.6% chance of a positive return. Yeah. Right? And if interest rates go up, over long periods of time, what you're going to find is all boats rise.
Yeah.
So if your expectation for growth on shares, let's say shares was 4.5% when bank accounts were down at 1%, and I'm making the numbers up here. When bank accounts double, mightn't necessarily double, but there'll always be a relationship. The markets will always drive us to be rewarded for taking risk.
Okay.
Yeah. So what might happen is that the interest rates on bank accounts might go up before the reward is offered on the equity side, on the share side. But ultimately, the shares will provide a better return over long periods of time. Okay, this person needs the money in 5 years' time. 99.6% chance of a positive return. I think is a reasonable risk to take. And I might be wrong. We could be wrong. But ultimately, if this person absolutely needs the money in 5 years' time and they cannot afford to lose anything on it, and they really need the interest that's been offered in the state savings, they may have no choice. And if I was talking to them directly, we'd weed that out and decide what the right thing to do is. But my gut here is saying to me, they're not going to do the right thing by going into state savings.
Okay.
When we see people looking at state savings for 10 years, there's no questions. Right? It's state savings for 10 years just is not the right place to be. State savings is a short-term vehicle the same way a bank account or an on-post account or credit union account is. Don't use short-term vehicles for long-term goals. Yeah. Full stop. Make sense? Does that I'm very conscious, that the whole all boats rise thing that I'm talking about, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. And I think there is other options other than 60-40. Like you could do, say, a 40-60, couldn't you, as well?
Yeah.
Like, so I suppose she has said her risk tolerance is low, and that's something that we deal with when people come into Prosperous. You do the risk assessment.
Yeah, we do a risk assessment, we do a capacity for loss, and we do a required rate of return. So we do a threefold. The regulation requires that you just do an assessment of risk, and that's it. Like, what your appetite to risk is really what you're checking there to see what's their appetite for risk. That always gets in my brain when someone says I'm really risk adverse or I've a low appetite for risk. I don't buy that. I believe nobody has ever explained it to them a way where they understand it, and therefore we're scared of things we don't understand.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you're right. 60-40 no-brainer is the portfolio you use where you're not getting advice on your specific circumstances. But some people will end up with 40% in shares and 60% in bonds, or 80% in shares and 20% in bonds.
Depending on where you're at in your financial journey. Yeah,
it depends. And also your required rate of return can be a driver of that. Like, so if you need loads of growth, you might have to chase loads of growth.
Yeah.
If you don't need loads of growth, why take the unnecessary risk?
Yeah.
So, but 60-40 no-brainer is the real kind of, right, I don't know what I'm doing here, so what will I do? I'll do this.
Yeah.
And most people actually, even after getting advice, will end up with a split similar to 60-40. So I'm not convinced that that's right, unless there was specific circumstances where this money is absolutely needed in 5 years' time and they need a cast iron guarantee. I wouldn't be attracted to state savings over that period of time.
Yeah. So maybe end kind of advice for that lady would be get some advice on her situation. But if she does want to go into something herself, a 60-40 would be the best bet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's go for the next question. This is the last one?
This is the last one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Eoin. My name is Andrew. I have a quick question with regard taking a career break. So my partner and I are in our late 20s. Well, I'm in my very late 20s, and we've decided to take a career break for 6 months to do some backpacking, to do some travel. We will both be unemploying ourselves. We're not taking sabbaticals. There's no safety net of returning to the same jobs when we get back. Herself is actually starting a traineeship next year, which will go on for 3 years. It's a paid one. So decided now is kind of the best opportunity to go before that starts and before life gets too serious with mortgages and all that. So is there anything that we could do now before we go that could help us for when we get back? Thanks very much.
What do you think the actual question is here, Amanda?
Looking to prepare themselves, I suppose, to have some sort of, I'd say, work out
a financial soft landing when they come back type of thing.
So like that they won't be left in a situation where they just have nothing and they're looking for jobs and, they might be relying on a credit card or an overdraft or whatever. I think they're just looking to be smart about their decision. My guess would be that they have their savings there for going on this trip.
Okay.
Decided to include this one because I know you always talk about experiences.
Yeah. No, life is about experiences. It's not things, right? And like the further you get on and the more clients I've dealt with, particularly in later life, it's not about the money they made or the investment returns they got. It's about the things that they did. And taking the opportunity where they've got a unique opportunity there, where they're going into a trainee, one of them's going into a traineeship next year. They're being clever about, right, we haven't got tied down with mortgages, we haven't got tied down with any of this other stuff. Let's go and get this done. I absolutely support it. Like, I think it's definitely something that if you've got the opportunity to do it, you should go and do it.
Yeah.
What I would say is you're probably right. Maybe they've planned out this 6 months and how they're going to afford it financially. I'd love if they planned out 8 months and how they're going to afford it financially.
Yeah.
So the 6 months they're gone and the 2 months that they're back.
Yeah.
You definitely need to be landing back here with a few quid. You're probably going to need to be landing back here with a few quid for a deposit for a house. I'm not talking about mortgage deposit. I'm talking about deposit for the rental.
Yeah.
That you don't want to leave yourself in an awkward position that you've had the best time, but it's actually been detracted from because 6 weeks before you're coming to the end of your 6 months, you're kind of, oh, geez, I'm starting to worry about getting home. Try and box it off now that you know what's happening when you come home, that you've got a deposit put to one side for the rent and for whatever you're going to rent when you get back.
Or even a plan with family. Like, it could be the case that they could live with family for a while. Someone has a room, just make a plan. Yeah. To actually kind of cover those financial decisions that could come up when they come back, or will come up when they come back, that, I don't know what situation they're in, if they're renting or whatever, but, they could just make a plan to stay with a family member when they come back, and that could be looking after that, but they still need to have.
And I think that's
some
what
sort of
they
finance.
Really need to think about the first 2 weeks when they come home. They need to think about that now before they go, so they're not thinking about it when they're gone.
Yeah, so that they can fully enjoy the experience while they're away as well.
And the other thing is, best plans in the world, the 6 months may not work out. It might turn into 4 months, or it might turn into 4 years, right? So, like, I wouldn't be putting down any financial roots here right now, because you never know. And I know the traineeship is there, and we don't know what type of traineeship it is, right? But I wouldn't be tying myself to Ireland right now. Like, that's a question that actually comes up a lot. Oh, I'm moving abroad to Australia for a year. Will I can buy a house now before I go, will I or won't I? Right?
Yeah.
The amount of people who go to Australia and don't come back. Like, I have a brother in Australia who went out in 1999. Like, he went out with 15 lads or something for a year, and he still hasn't come back. And so my problem is there, just be careful about the ties you're creating for yourself back here, and just go with the flow. And this is an experience, and it'll probably be a life-changing experience. Yeah. And when your life changes, you mightn't still want the same things when you come back. Hopefully they still want each other. They will. They're doing it together. Yeah. But no, what I would say is just be careful about the commitments you're making, but think about those first 2 weeks when you land back. Yeah. Get it all sorted out in your head. Come up with as you said, Amanda, get your plan. Try and have some financial supports there for you when you come back, because I don't want you 5 months in worrying about and ruining the last month of it.
Just actually making sure that you make the most of the experience while you're there. Yeah. And Amanda, enjoy it.
I do enjoy it. Let us know how you get on.
I'm jealous.
You know what? These are always lovely, and we've got them from time to time from clients where you've built a financial plan out and you've worked it all through, and you're going, okay, you need to do that trip. Like, go on that trip and do it. And I'll never, there's certain ones that I never forget that you get, like sitting at home on a Saturday afternoon and a WhatsApp picture comes in, and it's a client in Asia somewhere, or a client in the States, or a client doing Machu Picchu or something, right? And you just look at it and you go, wow, like that's it. Actually,
you spoke to them about doing that for however long. And
thought about it. We've planned it. We've built it into their financial plan. They've worked it through. So what I would ask that couple that are heading off, let the listeners know. Send us a message on Instagram at some stage. And what I do is if we spot it, I promise we'll share it, because people will love to see what's going on. So
definitely, yeah.
What's the number, Amanda? People want to send you a voice note with questions or suggestions for themselves coming on, or suggestions for guests to come on. What did WhatsApp?
So send all suggestions by voice note on WhatsApp to 087 291 0507. That's 087 291 0507.
One of the things I will say to people is that we are coming towards the end of Series 1.
Yeah.
We are starting all the planning for Series 2. We're going to take a little bit of a break. But random questions, whatever questions you want to send in, don't worry about the topic. Just get them into us, because it might actually steer how we put together Series 2. Yeah,
and we do have a bank of questions still there from things that have came in that just haven't been suitable for some of the topics that we've been talking about. So if your question hasn't been answered yet, there is still a chance that it will be answered.
Okay.
in the new year.
Okay. Amanda, thank you very much.
Thank you.